Welcome, not back, but for the first time ever, to Such Loathsome Things to Talk About.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah! It's a special little episode where John and Josh talk about the Hellraiser franchise in anticipation of the new film by David Bruckner. With me is myself, Josh, and also the not myself, known as John. John, how are you on this fine Wednesday after morning?
I'm doing fine, as fine as the Wednesday after morning, and pretty excited to talk about these ridiculous movies. And I'm super excited to see the David Bruckner one.
Yeah, the David Bruckner one comes out in 2 days on that one streaming service, but it's really cool. It's weird that it's coming out as a streaming thing and not like in theaters, because a lot of things are theater-y now, but yeah. I'm happy for it because I don't super love going to the movie theater.
Yeah, I'm pretty over that, actually. That's how I saw Nope. I saw Nope on my TV, and it's ultra high def. It's huge. It looks way better than any movie I've ever been to. I mean,
Nice.
You're not surrounded in 900 decibel sound, but you're also not surrounded by dickheads, so.
Yes. Ugh, dickheads. So Hellraiser. I guess, how do we do this? Do we, go through them in order? Just real quick, rapid fire style?
Yeah, I guess we, if you're not familiar with the franchise, it's based on a novella by Clive Barker called The Hellbound Heart, and it in that story, he created these creatures called the Cenobites. The lead, quote-unquote, Cenobite has a grid mark on his face, or its face, with pins or nails, or however you want to put it, like they're jewel encrusted in each of the intersections on the grid. That character through the movie series became known as Pinhead, and that's an iconic horror movie character. The first film was a big success. Second film was a pretty big success, and it created a slew of 7 more sequels. So that's the basic rundown.
Yeah. There's 10 total movies out there now. It became a franchise based on the fact that you have to put out a new movie in order to maintain the rights to the franchise. Yeah. So it started doing that. It started off real good. The original is amazing. At times, maybe a little boring and a little draggy, but it really knocks it out of the park in a lot of ways, and it's really original. Whenever you're thinking about this compared to other franchises, it's not like Halloween or Friday the 13th. It's kind of a little bit more like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like Pinhead is a little bit more of a Freddy Krueger-ish character, but at least in the original 2, it's not over the top weird nonsense. It's its own creepy thing, and then it just kind of through franchisement becomes more of a Freddy Krueger-ish thing.
I think the biggest surprise I have about all the sequels, now that we've seen all of them, is that Doug Bradley stuck around for he was in a total of 8 films.
Yeah,
and after the first 2. The first 4 films are basically part of a piece. And then you just basically have these weird standalone ideas that come out after that. And pretty much from that point forward, he's just reduced to essentially a Freddy Krueger type character who either makes a bunch of smart-ass comments, or even later in the series, really doesn't even need to be there at all. It's like it's a cop movie, it's a this movie, it's a that, and we're going to tack this onto it, It's a shame because, the guy's great. he's it's such an iconic character, and they just squander it. It's whatever.
Yeah. It turns into a lot of we've got police procedural ones, we've got investigative journalist ones. And then it just keeps getting ridiculous. It's really the franchise is pretty good up until Rick Bota gets his hands on it, and he directs a little garbage trilogy of sequels. It starts with Hellseeker, the one with Dean Winters and Ashley Lawrence reprising her role as Kirsty, and then Deader Hellraiser Deader, which is the one where an investigative journalist investigates a weird death cult. And then finally his ends up with Hellraiser Hellworld, the one where Henry Cavill and Lance Hendrickson are all involved in a MMO, and this means that for the first 10 minutes of the movie, they're talking about this MMO that they play, and then they're just at a huge tit party in a giant mansion of death.
It's funny because if you talk to people about these sequels, and there's in the horror world, there are a lot of people who have seen all of them, more than you might think, and everybody has the ones that I'd say favorites, but beyond 1 and 2, you do have people who still really love some of those movies, but generally speaking, I think most people recognize that they're terrible, and but then you do have ones that you prefer more than others. Like I actually, for some reason, I actually like the third Rick Bota film, the one in the house. I think maybe because it's so campy and comical, but that's exactly a good reason for explaining that movie sucked, which it did.
It sucked, yeah.
I mean, they all sucked. That's the thing, But it's so funny the line. Like you have the first two films. Well, you have the first film. It's a hit. Whatever. You never know with something like that how that's going to go. It's a hit. They make a second one. It's a hit. And then they make 2 more films that are tacked onto it. But the first one is a Hollywood production, and it uses Hollywood money to do some really goofy shit.
Yes.
And then then the whole thing wraps up in this weird, we're going to use an office building as the primary site for this entire movie, which is weird. And then they kill Pinhead, and he's done. That's the end of the thing. But then they make a standalone, stupid detective story with Craig fucking Schaefer, and then they follow that up with another like police procedurally type thing, except it's now it's Dean Winter, who is like a douchebag husband of Ashley Lawrence, and it's very similar to the movie before it. Everything from this point forward is basically just ripping David Fincher, Jacob's Ladder, all that stuff, that super stylized horror, Angel Heart, all that stuff that was, notorious in that era for, really kind of changing contemporary horror. And in this case, for the worst, because those movies suck ass. The not Angel Heart and all that; those are great. These Hellraiser movies are terrible. So yeah, you get the first 4. Then there's the cop one, the Dean Winter one. 5, 6. Dean Winter is the first Rick Bota. So you do Rick Bota's Dean Winter film. Then they go to Romania and make 2 movies at the same fucking time. 7 and 8. One with Kerry Wurr as an investigative reporter, which is horrible. It's that might be the worst of the bunch. That movie's really bad. No, I'm sorry, that's not the worst of the bunch.
It has one really good scene in it that made me at least like it a little, but other than that, it's trash.
The hand with the cube scene dangling from the chair or whatever. Is it that scene?
Oh no, I like the scene where she finds the knife stabbed through her from behind.
Yeah.
And then for the next hour she struggles, freaking out, trying to get the knife out of her back while slipping on her own blood in the bathroom. I think that scene is genius.
That was I like that scene. That was my description of that was the only clean room in Bucharest until of course she gets blood everywhere.
Yeah. That's right, Bucharest, because Amsterdam is so the 90s.
God. So yeah, those are made. Then Rick Bota comes back, and what was that after? So after that would have been, it's so bad. 5, 6, and then the 2, 7, 8 Bucharest. Okay, then Revelations comes out, and that's the one where Doug Bradley's gone. This is the 9th entry in the series. Doug Bradley is gone, replaced with some fat, bald asshole who looks like fucking, what's his name?
The joke I will be making on Twitter is that he has such bad taste in music to tell you about.
I called him a Walmart Billy Zane, I believe, is what I referred to him as.
That's good.
He's poor guy. I mean, he gives, he goes for it. He tries, but the makeup's terrible. They didn't give him much to work with. He's not fat. It's just that he's not fat at all. It's just that Doug Bradley is such a slight man that when you put this guy in the suit, it just doesn't look right. His body proportions are just different, and they don't give him enough to work with for him to make it his own. So it was one of those, we got to fulfill this contract thing, and that movie is terrible. That is easily the worst of the films for me, part 9.
Yeah. And it's weird because, honestly, that movie, like, watching some of the other parts, it has some really cool, practical makeup effects in it. But not on Pinhead. Pinhead looks like shit. They were like, no, we're not going to try over here. We're just going to get that down, and then we're going to do some other stuff that's kind of cool. Not all of it, but like 1 or 2 really cool bits. And
it's I had read this, and I didn't really think about it until I read this article about it, where the guy was like, oddly enough, it's the first movie, or the only movie really in the sequel, that kind of revisits the way that Pinhead is portrayed in the early movies, where it's about, he's going after people that are looking for extreme experiences, or like that's the case in this one with these 2 fucking losers who go to Tijuana, my man. Yeah. And then the final movie, which is a real oddity, the Judgment.
Yeah, that one is nuts.
It is. When it's good, it's great, because it's just fun. It's not great, but it's really fun. It's entertaining. And when it's not, which is basically any scene that Pinhead isn't in, it's terrible.
Yeah. It's one where, like, I really feel like what they were going for there is, like, what if we could get Rob Zombie to do a Hellraiser movie? And then they were like, no, we can't. And they're like, okay, what if we tried to do a Rob Zombie movie without Rob Zombie? Like, how would we do that? It'd be like, I don't know, maybe 3 topless ladies dig around in a trough full of puke? Like, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was the gross out factor on that film is very high. The scene where they're spitting in pouring drool in his mouth, that grossed me out, and I don't get grossed out. That scene grossed me out.
Yeah, that's super uncomfortable. They lick his whole body, and then after each lick, they like spit and just drain all of their spit into his mouth as part of a cleaning process. That was super icky and amazing.
Remember they had these little medallion things, and they would spit in that and then pour it into the cup.
Yeah.
And then the cup was mostly clear, like goopy, saliva-y looking, but then there was this blob of foamy saliva on the top. When they pour it into his mouth, they pour it slow, and then at the last part is that blob just goes right into his mouth. I was like, oh, God, that is disgusting.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing spit bukkake. I loved that so much. But that movie is just so nonsense because we're introduced to these non-Cenobite hell characters, which is some dude with a fucked up face that types up your sins or whatever, and then he hands those papers off to God damn, I can't remember his name.
The assessor. It's the auditor, then the assessor. Is that right? Yeah, he audits.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of a dead actor that looks like the assessor.
Oh, that looks like the assessor.
I think the movie was called The Master.
Oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yeah, he looks like Philip Seymour Hoffman's horrible brother.
Frank Siegfried Hoffman.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Butts.
Whoa.
And yeah, so this guy's wearing like a horrible jacket and no shirt underneath, and he takes all of the typed up notes, pours child tears on them, and then eats them, and then pukes into a tube, which fills a trough in another room where the 3 topless ladies wiggle their fingers around in the chunky puke and then render their judgment. And if the person is found guilty, they are rewarded by having blood sprayed onto their tits.
That's right. Yeah, the director originally wanted the girls to eat the vomit, but the studio was like, that's gross.
That would be icky.
So instead they just run their hands through it.
Yeah. It was obvious that they're supposed to eat it. Like, come on, it's a trough. But, whatever.
It just ruined,
you had to pull a punch somewhere, and that was the punch. Yeah.
And by the way, the auditor is the director.
Yeah, he's been, like, working on a lot of these sequels. He's, like, been like one of the not director guys, and this was like his big shot. I'm finally gonna get to direct a Hellraiser.
He plays one of the Cenobites in a bunch of the movies, but he does a lot of the makeup effects for some of the later movies. And this was his big chance. I mean, it's just the whole thing is such a saga of like who gets involved in these projects and why, and the whole thing is just so bizarre that it's such a movie industry story. It's like a cautionary tale or something.
There's that angel lady that Pinhead has a one-on-one with, and then he ends up like killing her, and she does the whole Jesus wept, and
Jophiel.
Yeah.
Who looks exactly like the blonde chick that gets killed in the she did not look like an angel. She looked like the blonde chick that gets killed earlier in the movie in her apartment, where they put her dog in her abdomen. It looked like her. I was like, wait, is she an angel now? I got a little lost for a second.
It's a little lost. I think it's supposed to be kind of similar to Angelique in the fourth movie, but not like that at all. It's very strange. And then that movie has the whole like police procedural angle where they've got like this one cop guy and they accidentally take him to hell, but he's innocent, so it ruins the whole process. It's bad. It's
not a good movie.
But it is a highlight among the later sequels just because of the interesting cinematography and makeup and gross out factor.
If you like horror movies, or you like to watch a lot of horror movies and you haven't seen that one, I might give that one a shot. You don't need to see the other ones, but that one at least had some interesting stuff in it. It's not a good movie, but it has some good stuff. In the interim, there was a guy that put together a trailer that he was for a movie he was going to crowdfund. He was hoping to like approach Dimension Pictures, I guess, and be able to make it himself. I don't know what planet the guy lived on, but he put together this trailer. It's really cool. It's called Origins, and it's up, in the places where you get free videos, and it's really cool. It would have been an interesting project. Of course, he approached Dimension, and they literally didn't even respond. But that thing has gotten play. I mean, Bloody Disgusting talked about it. Dread Central talked about it. They hyped it up. And nothing came of it until this project that was in and out of development hell forever. What's his nuts that made Martyrs, Pascal Longier, whatever his name is, he was originally signed on to make it and then had a bunch of disagreements, I guess, with Dimension and bailed. And we ended up with David Bruckner, which, hey, I'm happy with that choice. I like David Bruckner. We've said good things about his movies on this show.
Yeah. We reviewed The Ritual, and that was another movie where he adapted a book for the movie, and he did a great job. I've been reading that book, and like I've been seeing the differences in there. He makes good creative choices on stuff like that. I'm very excited for this new movie. But yeah, this upcoming one has been gone through a lot of iterations to the point where none of the original people are involved, except for Clive Barker is on, I believe, as like a producer consultant or something, and he's like fully on board, and he's like, yeah, dude, go after it, realize your dreams. But Doug Bradley has been like, no thank you, I will not.
Yeah, that's right. Which, in this case, I guess it's okay if you really consider that the character that we all know as Pinhead is really going to be much more in line with the way the characters presented in the book, which was a non-gendered character that has a, kind of distorted, very dark sounding, but a female type of voice, and but a more of an androgynous, presentation. But as far as like the makeup effects for the Cenobites, I mean, they look disgusting, which they're supposed to. They should look, they look like people who have surgically modified their bodies so that it remains that way permanently. That's exactly the way they should look. And so it's promising.
Yeah. There's lots of that where it looks like they've cut bacon strips out of themselves. It's like, yes, let's do this. It's so good.
I know, I'm ready for it.
And they got Jamie Clayton she's going to be the new Pinhead, and she's great in all the stuff she was in. She was Nomi Marks in Sense8, which apparently Doug Bradley was a fan of. So that was like one of the things, like she talked to him and he was like, yeah, go for it. Cool. But I won't be there.
Yeah. What is it? Goran Visnich is in this.
Yeah. Goran from ER.
That's
he was in like 10 seasons of ER as some asshole doctor.
He was in some horror movie too, wasn't he? I can't remember.
I'm sure, yeah.
Anyways, yeah. I like him.
He was in a shitty NBC time travel TV series called Timeless.
Nice.
Yeah. And this movie is filmed in Belgrade, Serbia. So whenever you look at all of the not top level actors, like whenever you look at the cast list, it's a bunch of, Serbian sounding last names. It's like,
like Visnich.
Yeah.
He was there. He was like walking by as they were making the movie. Hey, you want to be in this?
We haven't seen a lot about this movie. There's that one trailer out there. They've released a few stills, but they've pretty much kept it under wraps, which I'm a little nervous about. Like, it could be like, oh yeah, we want to build hype around the mystery around it, or it could be, this is a piece of shit, so we're just not gonna try.
Yeah, it is a little concerning for that reason. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, all they have to do is drop a little bit, and if it looks at all promising, people are going to lose their mind, and that's all you need to give them, really. Yeah. But yeah, it is a little concerning that I'm glad they released the trailer, because I was starting to wonder if they were even going to do that.
Yeah.
But it's a cool trailer, so I don't know. Maybe everything good in the entire movie is in that trailer. It doesn't look one of those kinds of trailers, but
yeah, I recently watched Don't Worry, Darling, and Don't Worry, Darling is one of those movies where all of the cool scenes in the whole movie were put in the trailer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
The trailer actually looked okay. As much crap as I read about it, I thought it was going to be the worst movie ever. The trailer looked okay, but you saw it. How was it? Bad?
It's not good. It's Florence Pugh is amazing in it. Just fantastic, and a lot of actors do a good job, but it's trash. There's a lot of promise in the first half of the movie, and it just all goes away into dumb, stereotypical, ineffective. Yeah, that's bad. Wow. But for Hellraiser, I wanna call back to the fact that it's kind of a remake. It's not a remake; it's a reboot. Yeah. And I want to call back this reboot to our last episode where we talked about the Carrie 2002 made-for-TV remake of the original, and I want to praise Carrie for something and praise this movie for something about rebooting a series or remaking a movie. They waited long enough, This movie is 35 years after the original.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of time to wait to reboot something. Same thing with Carrie. Carrie came out 25 years, the made-for-TV movie, 25 years after the original. That's a good amount of time to wait for a remake. You don't... If it's been less than 10 years, you don't need to retread that soil. Even with that Carrie remake, it was slightly updated in that they made a reference to the internet. But other than that, it could have just been the same movie. So I'm hoping that this movie, the fact that it's been so long since the original, that it's only been sequels up to this point, it gives me a little bit of hope, especially since in the sequels they even talked about like the fact that they don't really have to use the puzzle box anymore because technology has caught up to hell.
But then they use the puzzle box for the rest of the fucking movie.
It's
Stupid.
It's fucking dumb.
I like on the trailer for this one how the puzzle box looks like the Leviathan from the second movie.
Yeah, like yes, yeah. They did interesting things, which honestly, like as a non-moving prop, the original puzzle box looks cool. But then whenever they start playing with it, it's like there is not a moving part on there. You look like an asshole.
You're fondling a cube.
Yeah. Like in 4, whenever he made a puzzle box room, and the inside of it is just big, obviously fake clockworks, where like the little hand never actually touches the gear. It's like, this is dumb.
It's so bad. It's so stupid. Or in the party house one with the giant cube that's rotating on its corner in the dance floor. And then in Judgment, when the guy has the mantelpiece of puzzle cubes, and there's like one that's like 2 pieces of wood that just fit together like that. What the fuck is that?
Oh yeah, we got that one on Amazon.
Yeah, everyone's going to hell with that box. You're like, what is this? Oh.
Oops. Oh no. My kinks.
Oh man, yeah. It's I really hope this is good. It would really be a shame if this movie was a dud, especially because I like Bruckner and I would hate for that to hurt his career.
Yeah. Oh, that would. Yeah. I think he'll be okay. I mean, The Ritual was so good, and a lot of people really like The Night House. I wasn't a huge fan of The Night House. There were some really cool parts in it, but a lot of it was kind of a fart.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that movie at all. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be, I mean, as much as the reviews were playing it up, I thought that was going to be the shit, but it was just shit.
Yeah.
It wasn't shit, but I didn't really like it that way.
I wiped my ass with it. I, for some reason, wipe my ass with shit. It doesn't work very well.
Yeah, it just was kind of a dud, I guess. That's what I would say.
Yeah. I probably should rewatch it, because, I mean, reading online, like, people are still talking about it. There's a lot of hype about it still. Maybe it's better than I remember. I just remember getting really irritated by the ending and really irritated by the number of times that there was a profile guy in the architecture. It's like, yeah.
I won't give it away in case anyone hasn't seen it, whatever, but it's the major conceit and the way that it's basically played, like the message that it gives, is really stupid. Like, don't do this. If you're going to make a horror movie, don't use the framework of a horror movie and then turn it into something else at the last second.
Yeah.
Don't shit on all the people who wanted it to be something and you take that away from them at the end.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like you just summarized Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it does a very that thing at the end. And
it's so weird. Sometimes you think you understand where people are going with stuff, and then you hear people shit their pants for the Black Phone and go watch it. And I'm like, this movie's not that good. It's really kind of just forgettable. It's not. I mean, it's nowhere near what the hype I heard about it.
Yeah,
it was okay. I didn't like it at all, but it was an okay movie, I guess.
I guess. I mean, there just wasn't much interesting about it. The most interesting thing was Colin Farrell's variety of mask pieces. Like, that was cool enough that he has, like, multiple pieces that he can mix and match depending on his mood. That's
Colin
okay.
Farrell.
What did I say?
You said Colin Farrell.
Who is it?
Ethan Hawke.
Same thing.
That's awesome.
Colin Mockery.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke, the guy from Mission Impossible.
The serial killer who no one has ever been able to spot, who happens to live across the street from the prescient girl, and he drives that rape van that no one ever seems to have realized, and somehow magically has shit tons of black balloons all the time. Like,
for no reason!
It's so stupid!
I just like to pull them out to lure kids.
And then he has these fucking masks that you're talking about, where whatever mood he's in, he has a different layer for his stupid mask. Why? How is that any more scary than an actual person who is demented enough to be doing all the things the movie's about? That you can't take away from that. He's supposed to. There's nothing supernatural about it, except the film. There's all these fucking kids that no one cares about either. You should do this, and then that will happen. Ooh.
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Ethan Hawke mask Halloween trick-or-treating. Like, it just screams like, oh, buy the complete set of Ethan Hawke or whatever masks. You, too, can...
He did a fine job, I guess. He was...
Yeah.
I didn't hate him, which I can't say for some movies he's in. Something about him bugs me. But he is a good actor, but whatever. That movie was trash. But...
Yeah, unlike all of these Hellraiser sequels...
Here's the problem with the Black Phone. At no point does he remove a CD from his head and throw it into somebody.
God, I know that you liked that one. I hated everything about it.
It's terrible. But for some reason I found it entertaining. I don't know why. Because it
makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I liked the next one. I liked the space one. It's bad, but I liked it.
Yeah, that's true. It's the same thing. I mean, the space one is so ridiculous. Like, Adam Scott shows up. I forgot that he was in it. And he shows up, and I was like, it's Adam Scott! I was so excited.
It turns out that when you go down the elevator at the office building, you end up in Cenobitia.
Cenobitia. Whoa.
Yeah. And I liked Angelique. I liked that whole other one, especially whenever she goes full Cenobite, and her thing is that she's cut her skull, like her scalp open, and has it peeled down with like the top of her skull exposed. Like, that looks really fucking cool.
That did look cool. I liked Angelique too. I liked her in both phases. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
I liked Inferno, the crooked cop one. There's that scene where there's the twin Cenobites, and they like shove their hands under his chest skin and are just like rubbing his ribs and chest meat underneath there, and he's like, oh yeah. I was like, oh, this is so fucked up and good.
That was the arm Cenobite with no, like, just a torso with arms.
Yeah, the top half Cenobite coming up the stairs. I was like, oh, fuck this. And all of that, of course, is in, like, the first 25% of the movie, and then from there, it's just kind of like, whatever. Yeah.
It's like Samoans and raincoats and a cowboy bartender and whatever the fuck was going on.
Yeah, what's up with the cowboys in that movie?
No idea. It had nothing to do with anything.
Just throw it in there. It's fine. So all right. So the sequels and the original behind us. Looking forward, what do you like? Sincere, what's your expectation? What do you think this new one's going to be like?
I think the scenes of people suffering in the trailer bother me a little bit. Like, it concerns me, because even in the trailer, I kind of got sick of listening to it. So I'm like, if the movie really starts hamming up the suffering of the lead actors and it's just a lot of bad acting, that's going to make it really difficult. But I have higher expectations from Bruckner, and I don't know. I mean, I think that I suspect that it's probably going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to be like we're going to be shitting ourselves over it. I don't know that it'll necessarily like be a classic that adds, but considering how many of those movies are terrible, I guess it may become one. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I really don't know. There's hope. There's like top shelf hope because of the ritual, like, and that whole like crazy demigod thing in there. Like, there's hope that it's gonna be just a madhouse of amazingness. And there's some little peeks at good stuff in that trailer, but I'm worried that it's gonna hit the floor and just be like kind of a torture porn, maybe just not the budget, like given the lack of budget on things like marketing for it. I'm worried. So,
yeah,
I mean...
Yeah. I mean, the first movie shows that you don't have, it doesn't have to be Shakespearean to be good. It can be a pretty simple, straightforward plot, and, that is overlaid with some great ideas. And those ideas are being reestablished in this movie. They can do whatever they want with the original story and take it whatever direction they plan on going with it. And, I mean, the blueprint is there, and it seems like they have the right people involved. So, I'm super hopeful, but I'm just afraid it's going to be terrible. I don't know. I don't think it will, but I'm just afraid it will be.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm hoping my top out hope is that it's going to be an 8 out of 10. Like, I feel like from everything I'm seeing, it could definitely be an 8 out of 10, but I'm worried it's going to end up being a 5.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, it was all right, I guess, whatever. Man, that would suck. We'll see.
We'll see. So, tune in to the new Hellraiser movie in 2 days when it premieres on some streaming platform that hasn't paid us enough money to say its name.
Mm-mm.
And then tune in, I guess we could go ahead and let them know, tune in 1 week from Sunday when we have seen the movie and will have reviewed it already.
Yes.
Hopefully the entire internet isn't already sick of it by then.
I don't know. Whenever we do new movies, which I'm always worried that that's going to be the response. It's going to get buried. They seem to get a lot of attention, or at least relative for us. Men got a decent amount of attention. I was surprised.
Yep.
Wasn't expecting that because a lot of people were talking about it. So I just thought it would get buried in the haze. But I don't know. I mean, of course, when we pick older, sort of like rarities or obscurities, of course you're not going to get a ton of interest because people already don't know who we are. And if they see some movie they've never heard of, they're like, oh, I don't know those guys, and I don't know that movie. I'm not listening to that.
Oh, what? A podcast I've never heard of reviewed a movie I've never heard of? No thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Blood Diner. No one listened to Blood Diner.
Was it really? It was not a big hit?
Not a big hit. And I'm starting to think, like, we did this thing where we're doing Carrie for October. I'm starting to think that was a bad idea because I'm also seeing a lot of really good new horror movies coming out in October that we could have done instead of just doing all 3 Carries. So maybe we need to switch the month that we do it in again.
That would be awesome. I mean, it is kind of the time where it's Halloween. They do like to release horror movies around Halloween, don't they?
Like a week after Hellraiser, Lucky McKee's new movie, Old Man, is going to be dropping. And I'm like, oh, fuck, we could have done that, too.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, man, that sucks. He's awesome, and his sister's awesome, too.
Yeah, she does great, I don't know, is it sketches, line art? I don't know what it's called.
Illustrations.
She's
an illustrator, I think you'd say.
Yeah, she's great. John, which is your favorite of the after Hellraiser 2 Hellraisers?
My favorite is probably Judgment.
Yeah, the 2018 final sequel.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call, really. But I mean, I enjoyed watching all those movies, but they were really all pretty bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
None of them are that good. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to change that because that movie was just a little too goofy for me. I'm going to go for the one in the house. It's so exuberantly stupid that I enjoyed it.
that's I think that's Hellworld, right? The MMO one
with Catherine Winnick and Henry Cavill. And...
Oh, it's real bad. It's funny because that's the one
terrible.
that we were dreading. Like when we were talking about it, we were like, oh yeah, and there's one where he does the internet.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to be on an online role-playing game. It's like, oh, come on.
The worst. Like, there's even footage of them playing this game, and it's not an MMO at all. It's like it's like one of those puzzle games. It's nothing. It's an MMO designed by people that have never played an MMO ever. Don't even know what they are.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a good movie. Something about that movie I like. I don't know why. It's terrible. How about you?
Honestly, Bloodline, the one that's space. Yeah. It's silly. It's weird that it goes all the way from Powder Wigia to outer space, but I loved a lot of things about it. It's also a terrible movie.
It is. It is very ambitious, and the Victorian era stuff, or whatever era that is, that stuff is hilarious, I have to admit. The powder wig guy with the, like, gross sores on his face and stuff, that whole guy is just great.
Yeah. And it's honestly the thing that I wanted to see. Like, I wanted, like, alright, you've got this hell box where you can, like, summon an alternate dimension and demons or whatever. You need a wizard that's like, oh yes, this is one of the cool tools I have. Instead, it's the guy creating it. That's whatever. It's fine. But it's all betray and good. But it also does one of the things that I disliked, but that started happening pretty quickly, is that in the first movie, they're not from hell. In the first movie, they're Cenobites. They're not demons. They're just dudes from some sort of weird alternate dimension. But quickly in the sequeldom, it turns into, oh yeah, it's hell, and also there's like heaven and stuff, and it's just that same boring thing that we're all familiar with. Instead of it being this cool, new idea world building, it's just more of the same.
I agree with that 100%. That's one of the things I hate about horror, is how limited it gets with its imagination about, the whole mythology of the world of horror. People are scared of certain things, and all the good horror people are well aware of what people are afraid of. We all know that the truly scary stuff is real life. And, we all know that people are going to fall for jump scares, and a certain group of people will fall for monsters and stuff. But it's like nobody wants to, like, break certain traditions, like the whole Judeo-Christian tradition of evil and bad, and the duality of morality that is in all horror movies, and like anytime someone seems to branch out of that, it's just slightly more interesting immediately.
Yep.
Just for having done that, Yeah. And it's not like you can't do good things in there, of course. Obviously, people still do. It's just like, can we establish a new paradigm at least? It doesn't have to be. You can. Someone else could have done it first, but can we just do something else for a while?
Yes. Yeah. Which it's one of the reasons that the new one gives me hope, because with David Bruckner we had the Jotun, and it's like, oh, anything else? Yes. Yeah, let's do it. Anything else. And like, this is a great opportunity for anything else. And if it turns out to just be heaven and hell again, I'm going to be so pissed off.
There's just, this story doesn't need that. That's the beauty of it, is that it can sustain itself without it.
All right. Well, that has been such loathsome things. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't expect more.
No.
That's
it. That's it for you.
That's one and done.
Yep.
Well, goodbye.
Later.